This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. 5 years ago, deep in a bear market, a group of traditional finance experts founded BitGet, and they've been building ever since. Now, with 20 million users worldwide, BitGet is committed to helping users trade smarter by providing a secure one-stop crypto investment solution with copy trading, future trading, and spot trading. Your security is their priority, and BitGet has one of the largest protection funds in the industry, with US $300 million to cover potential trader losses from unforeseen events that are not due to misconduct from the user or platform. BitGet wants to inspire everyone to embrace Web3, so if you're new to crypto, learn more at the BitGet Academy with free blockchain courses, crypto guides, cryptocurrency trading strategies, and more. Or for the experienced investor, trade smarter with daily access to institutional-grade crypto market intelligence and trends analysis with BitGet Research. I've put links to BitGet Research and the BitGet Academy in the show notes, so get amongst it or simply go to bitget.com. Thank you to BitGet, and now it is on with the show. Hey folks, well, Happy New Year to you. Regular and much loved listeners of the Crypto Conversation podcast. Yes, this is the first episode of the year where I am down under in New Zealand. It is Thursday, January 11. It's probably the 10th of January where you are in the world. Of course, the big news is, the much anticipated Bitcoin Spot ETFs for American investors finally approved about an hour ago today. So because, it's January, it is the new year. This is momentous news. I thought I would just take the opportunity to, record the first podcast of the year just to mark this historic occasion, really. So there's no guest today. It's just me, running through a very quick, small number of interesting data points and really just to mark the occasion. So look, if you're a Bitcoiner or just a crypto person in general, and if you're listening to this, of course you are, then, today is a day to feel good, I think, about, where we are in this wonderful Bitcoin or crypto journey. We've come a long way, obviously a long way to go. And I can't help but feel, it's been a strange week. So we'll get into that. But as I say, in a historic move today, the SEC has finally announced that it has approved, I think there's 11 Bitcoin Spot ETFs that mean US American investors are now able to gain exposure to Bitcoin really as soon as tomorrow. I think trading is going to begin on some of these, if not all of these, tomorrow. What a strange and wild ride it has been. I mean, in a nice moment of, I don't know, call it a coincidence, serendipity, if you like. It was exactly 14 years ago that Hal Finney, do you remember when Hal Finney tweeted that he was running Bitcoin? That's all he said, 2 words, running Bitcoin. He was running the Bitcoin client, one of the first to do so. And he tweeted that. It's a famous tweet. Of course, Hal Finney passed away a number of years ago, but it is a famous tweet. I saw it retweeted a lot today. So amazing that was exactly 14 years ago today. Of course, in the years since, Bitcoin's mysterious pseudo-anonymous creator, the wonderful Satoshi Nakamoto, disappeared. We haven't heard from Satoshi since. We're unlikely to, of course, and Bitcoin has begun its 14-year journey from being a kind of weird, curious digital collectible for the cypherpunk and cryptography community. Of course, Bitcoin was a mechanism for making payments on the dark web, famously on Silk Road. Then went through a series of I suppose, speculative market cycles as more people looked to Bitcoin as a means for financial upside, of course, as a means to outpacing inflation. And now, only really 14 years. It seems like a long time, but it's only been 14 years, which is not a lot in the context of, human monetary history. 14 years after the invention of a new kind of digital currency, a new form of money. Here we are today seeing it embraced, somewhat reluctantly, admittedly, by the mainstream US financial system. So it means that heavyweight names, the likes of BlackRock, ARK, VanEck, Fidelity, huge asset managers with armies of financial advisors, financial managers, asset managers, and of course, their clients, trillions of dollars in assets under management. Yeah, well, now those firms are able to go and effectively make the case for Bitcoin to American investors just after 14 years of Bitcoin's existence. Quite amazing, really. That said, I must admit, I think today's final announcement, the announcement process has been a little bit underwhelming. It's been a little bit confusing. It's been, I guess, because Bitcoiners, we've been waiting for this for so long. I think the first ETFs, maybe the Winklevoss ETF applications, that was about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. I think it was 10 years ago, 2014. So it has been a long ride to get here. And of course, this week's been a bit messy. We'll get to that. And funnily enough, this has been reflected in the Bitcoin price. So there's been so much discussion as to what Bitcoin would do. Would it be a sell the news event? Would it dump? Would it be an instant, would the bull run start here? Amazingly, nothing. Bitcoin has effectively done nothing today, which is amazing, really. And I think what it does show is how efficient the market has been in pricing in the ETF approval. So in some sense, the market is just exhausted because it's been such a process. That doesn't mean, look, I think things will start happening again soon. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is it. I think things will start happening once the ETFs start trading, once the flows begin. But for today, at least, if I just go to, have a look at CoinMarketCap. Yeah, Bitcoin's just sitting steady at 46,400 at the moment. It jumped up more on the got to like 47,500 on the fake news announcement when the SEC Twitter was hacked. So amazing that it's done nothing today. And even more amazing or not, depending on your point of view, Ethereum was really the big winner today. Ethereum jumped up to 2,500, a little bit more. It was a 10% move overnight by Ethereum, while Bitcoin stayed effectively flat. So I think it looks like, it could be a switch to Ethereum. Perhaps this could even give some of the altcoins some breathing space in the meantime while Bitcoin settles, and then perhaps it'll be Bitcoin time again. I don't know. No idea what happens to price. Back to the announcement. Gary Gensler. Gary, what can you say? So he published a letter today. Finally, it's on the SEC website. I'll put a link in the show notes. I'm not sure if Gary wrote these words himself. He used to be a blockchain lecturer at MIT, so he knows how Bitcoin works. But he's part of the US government and the likes of Elizabeth Warren. They're not going to be too happy that these ETFs have gone through. So whether they're Gary's words, he wrote today in his letter, though we're merit neutral, I'd note that the underlying assets in the metals ETPs have consumer and industrial uses, while in contrast, Bitcoin is primarily a speculative, volatile asset that's used for illicit activity, including ransomware, money laundering, sanction invasion, and terrorist financing. While we approved the listing and trading of certain spot Bitcoin ETP shares today, we do not approve or endorse Bitcoin. Investors should remain cautious about the myriad risks associated with Bitcoin and products whose value is tied to crypto. So pretty salty there by Gary Gensler. It doesn't seem like he's that thrilled at approving these ETFs, does it? Anyway, so I guess, what I'm saying is what happens next, despite the tepid price action today and really the reluctant signals from the SEC, you've got to understand, and I think you do, today really is hopefully a huge win for the global Bitcoin community. Let's, what else should we say? The fees. I think it's, to everyone's surprise, the fees for these ETFs are really very, very low. And the reason for that is because the SEC has approved all, 11 or 10 or something, all these different ETFs at once. So they're all competing essentially for the same American consumer. And the main way that they can compete is on fees. So, and this week you've seen them kind of going back and forward. A lot of the ETFs jockeying for position. They've been adjusting their fees up and down the whole way through, and what was memorably described by the Bloomberg guys as ETF Terradome. Survival of the fittest, just a ruthless game that is ruthless approach that is required to succeed at the sharp end of the asset management business. So one of the cheapest fees is actually Bitwise, and they're kind of crypto native. I think their fee is 0.20% with including a 6-month waiver period of no fees. Arc has a fee of 0.21%, and then there's kind of a range in between. BlackRock, very, very low as well at 0.25%. Also, is there a waiver on BlackRock? Yeah, there is 12 months waiver. So effectively, 12 months free investing there. That's, pretty amazing, really. The highest fees, of course, is Grayscale at 1.5%. I think they have a clause that they could still move that lower. I think people are saying the reason that Grayscale's is the highest is because they already have 28 billion of assets under management as they convert the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot ETF. So the key takeaway there is very low fees, so very attractive to American investors looking for a way to get exposure to Bitcoin in a non-custodial way, so they don't have to go to the hassle of holding the actual Bitcoin themselves, keeping it secure, which is going to be most people, I imagine, really. What it also means is you've got to expect that this puts pressure on the likes of the American exchanges, Coinbase and Kraken and the likes, who have, reasonably high fees, really, trading fees. So if you're like an American crypto buyer and you've been buying a Bitcoin at Coinbase, I don't know if it makes sense unless, Coinbase can lower their fees. It's probably better to go through one of these ETFs. So that'll be interesting as well. I said it was a wild week. It was a wild week, of course, because it's just messy. I think messy is the word to talk about this rollout. Of course, 24 hours ago, the SEC they put out a tweet saying that the ETFs had been approved. 15 minutes after that, Gary Gensler put out his own tweet saying that the SEC Twitter had been compromised and the ETFs were not approved. So it's just really confusing. And then later yesterday, Twitter confirmed that someone had actually effectively compromised the SEC Twitter account. There was no two-factor authentication and someone was able to get in there. So they were telling the truth when they said that the account was compromised. And then today there was just a whole lot of back and forward. The SEC, they put their official documentation up on the website, then people found it, so they took it down. And you were going to like a 404 error message, and then some of the exchanges were jumping the gun, kind of listing that all the ETFs would be ready to go tomorrow, and then they had to back down. So it was just messy, as I say, messy and confusing. Maybe not for the average person, but for anyone that was kind of watching all this happen in real time on Twitter, it wasn't smooth. And I think that's just, to be fair, I think that's just the incredible amount of different people, different players, the bureaucracy involved, the nature of everything kind of being online and so many people watching. Maybe it's too much to expect a smooth rollout, but maybe the SEC could have, if they hadn't dragged this thing out for 10 years anyway, perhaps it would have been a bit smoother. What else? I guess, looking forward, it's more about, what happens next. As I say, the market absolutely flat today in terms of the Bitcoin price. Just no movement at all. So I think it's just going to be a period of digesting the news, and then the big thing will be, what are the flows as the ETFs begin to kick off tomorrow? What are the flows? A lot of speculation here. I saw Eric from Bloomberg. He's reported, as have others, that BlackRock, the rumor is they might be looking to break the first day ETF flow record by injecting $2 billion in assets into their ETF straight away. I'm not clear exactly on how much of that is new flows and some existing, but if it's new flows, that'll be a lot. So then, I think then you got to look at kind of what happens in the first year. There was a big report that Standard Chartered Bank put out. I think they predict new inflows, and that's new inflows of between 50 billion and 100 billion just this year. That would mean around somewhere in between like 400,000 and over 1 million Bitcoins would then be held in those ETFs, which is quite a lot. And if that was the case, that projection by Standard Chartered, they're looking for a Bitcoin price of, $200 grand by the end of next year. So, people are bullish on this, but we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. Of course, the other big factor is, we talked about how all these, the fund managers, the advisors that work for BlackRock and all these other asset managers, they're out there talking about Bitcoin to their clients every day. There's going to be a marketing war, really. You'll see TV commercials, online commercials, maybe Super Bowl commercials, the likes of BlackRock and ARK and Fidelity spending their hard work, their marketing budgets on promoting Bitcoin, which boggles the mind, really. So that's why I think it's crazy to think about how far Bitcoin has come in 14 years. Maybe just finish off. There was some harsh words from Hester Peirce, who, of course, is a member of the SEC, famously pro-crypto. But she put out a statement about half an hour ago. It's very harsh. She wrote, "Today marks the end of an unnecessary but consequential saga. For reasons I've explained before, the logic of the long string of ETF denials is perplexing. The Commission has driven retail investors to less efficient means of obtaining Bitcoin in the securities market. The Commission, rather than admitting error, offers a weak explanation for its change of heart. We have squandered a decade of opportunities to do our job." And she goes on and on and on. It's pretty harsh, really. So, it's just funny from, Gary at the SEC going out of his way to criticize Bitcoin, Hester at the SEC going out of the way to criticize the SEC. Again, it just goes to show the messiness of the kind of political machinations that are happening behind the scene. Of course, Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin really doesn't care today. No movement in the price. But man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. So I think that's it. I've probably just rambled on enough. As I say, Happy New Year, folks. Happy New Year. I do appreciate that you're listening to the podcast. Please do make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. If you're a new listener, if you're a long-time listener, lots of podcasts to come this year. Thanks, as always, to BitGet, our sponsor. Thanks to you, the listeners. And Happy New Year, folks. Go Bitcoin. Let's see what happens next. Thanks for listening, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.